Hello, YouTube. This is. Oh, we have some glare. 1 second. Hey, Floof. So, this is Thursday, August 29th, 2024. And I hadn't used my RisingCam camera in, I don't know, a couple months. I just hadn't needed camera microscopy in a while. I was mostly doing stuff that didn't require it. And then I needed it, last night, the night before, something like that. And it didn't power up. It was weird. I plugged in power and there was just no response. So when I started getting into diagnostics, um, I was actually getting a tiny response from this LED. If you covered it up in shadow and plugged in power, there was a teeny bit of blue light coming out. No HDMI out, uh, no power out of the USB rail, and on checking the little battery there, I get like 2.5 volts out of it. I don't know what its nominal voltage is supposed to be because I can't quite see the model of it, and it's you know spot welded there. But I talked with RisingCam support. They have been very responsive. They went through the basic stuff first. Have you plugged it in? Do you have a different power cord? Can you try a different HDMI cord? The basic stuff. Um, Once I communicated that I had been very thorough about covering my initial bases, and when they asked for a video, I sent them a video of trying the original power supply and also showing it on my multimeter that it was supplying 12 volts, then getting a test variable jack power supply, confirming that it had the same polarity, showing that it also had 12 volts, and trying to power that up, and showing on camera the tiny little bit of LED response. They went from the kind of standard tech support, have you tried this list of standard things, to, okay, let's get this video to one of our engineers. We'll get back to you shortly. They did actually get back to me shortly, within, I think, a couple hours. And in the video, they could see that I had this lab set up, and I also volunteered that, hey, if you need me to open this up, get voltages or test individual components, I'm comfortable with that. Their response that night was, hey, we talked with our engineer. He suggested that you reflow the solder joins on the CPU because the symptoms indicate that there's a connection that isn't working properly on the CPU right there. So I tried that. Somewhere on here it says, yeah, no lead. So I had tried low temperatures first, which, I mean, yeah, you try low and you gradually step up to the minimum temperature you need to get the job done. Other people do it differently. There are different arguments for doing it differently. Some people say use the highest temperature the component will survive so that you use the shortest duration of heat. And for some situations, that is the right path. But anyway, I tried 300 Celsius with my quick 861 DW. That didn't do it. I tried 350. I switched out to my largest nozzle and took the airflow down from 70 to 40. That didn't seem to do it. I tested that on one of the SMD components, and that did give me a successful wiggle test, but not for the CPU. The CPU still wasn't passing the wiggle test. I stepped it up to 400 Celsius. This was with, I was using the MG Chemicals 8341 flux. And 400 Celsius worked within about a minute. Actually, I know exactly, 1 minute and 8 seconds. At that point, it passed the wiggle test. I kept heat on it for 10 seconds longer, just enough to slowly outline the edge. And then I removed heat and I left it undisturbed for 5 minutes to allow the solder to cool without any motion affecting it. After that, I plugged it back into HDMI. I plugged it into my little USB power meter just to see if I could detect any power coming off the USB rails, and plugged it into the original power adapter, and no joy. No change in symptoms. I still got the very faint amount of blue light out of the LED, and nothing else. So I wrote up a work log, basically explaining my methodology, explaining what tools and chemicals I used, and each step of what I tried, what temperature I used, and when I eventually got a successful wiggle test on the CPU, and then no result after that. And I got a response. This wasn't through AliExpress chat. At this point, they had emailed me directly. We had to exchange email addresses so I could give them a Google Drive link to that first video I took. So I replied to their email with everything I'd done and that I hadn't gotten a result from it. And within 5 minutes, I had a reply saying, hey, we're willing to send you a replacement motherboard. Are you okay with this? And are you okay with installing that? I was fine with that. And then before I even got to finish replying, they actually called me on my phone to just check in and ask, hey, are you okay with the solution? If we just send you the motherboard, can you swap that out? So I still have to wait to see follow through. 1 second, my cat wants out. Here we go. So obviously, I still have to wait to see follow through from RisingCam to actually receive the part, receive it undamaged, swap it in, and make sure it's the correct motherboard, or at least a compatible iteration of that board. And if it is, then good. I don't think poorly of companies that have products that can fail, as long as they support those situations. And so far, they have been very responsive in support, both in working with me to attempt a repair. Obviously, for the average customer who isn't someone who has an electronics lab, that wouldn't have been viable. But, I mean, they could see that I obviously did, and I communicated that I was willing to, take it apart. But I do like the solution. Sending me a replacement part in the motherboard instead of a replacement camera is fine by me, and actually preferred, because I don't just want to, get a whole new unit. I'd rather replace the least amount possible to make a device work again. After all, that is kind of the whole point of all of this. Repair before replace, or replace a component before you replace the entire thing. So yeah, I will update if and when I receive that part. But so far, some issues with the camera after a while. Not really sure why that happened. It just sat not plugged into power for a few months, or 2 months approximately. But, stuff happens. Entropy claims everything eventually. But they have been very responsive, and so far I am quite happy with them. I'll give you an update, probably just as a comment, and maybe a short video after I have that part and we see if everything's taken care of.